Perhaps foolishly for someone of my years, I still try to play a little tennis. This means that the next day I often suffer bouts of stiffness and soreness, which for a while can cause me to move with a curious, crouching, waddling gait that my grandchildren like to invite their little friends over to watch. Sometimes it's even severe enough to send me to my doctor. A while ago, I was in his office with a twinged back. I've known my doctor for many years now, and I no longer expect miracles from him. Usually, he just listens sympathetically to a list of symptoms I describe, and after a minute or two to consider, he says, "You know, I get the same thing. I wonder what it is." We then speculate together on a diagnosis and conclude that we should probably just both be upping our daily aspirin dosage. This time, however, he surprised me. "Maybe we should send you for a massage," he said. Now, from occasional inadvertent perusals of the Georgia Strait, I'm quite knowledgeable about massage. The advertisements and illustrations in the back pages are informative and undeniably enticing. Also, it happens that at the tennis centre, I sometimes overhear a group of younger members talking about massages they have had. Without exception, their experiences seem to have been gratifying and improving. Even the names of the practitioners they mention, Bambi, Tiffany, Amber, they have a comforting and curative ring to them. Naturally, I've never had any personal experience. The remains of my Englishness have left me far too inhibited. However, if my doctor was prescribing it... "Sounds good," I said, and he instructed his nurse to make an appointment for me. When the day arrived, a delightful blonde woman booked me in at reception. She directed me down a corridor to a small cubicle. Inside, it was quiet and restful, though perhaps a little starker than I'd expected from the descriptions that I'd heard at the tennis centre. There were no soft lights or soft music, and no plush divans or vials of aromatic oil that I could see, and the decor was functional rather than exotic. Nevertheless, my feelings of pleasurable anticipation remained high. High, that is, until the door opened and a huge, grinning Irishman stepped into the room. His hands were red and hairy, and he was flexing fingers the size of bananas. "Hello," he said, "I'm Liam. Just strip down to your underwear, why don't you, and climb up onto the table." I was too stunned to do anything but comply. Then began a series of excruciating kneadings, bendings, twistings and stretchings, the like of which I'd never imagined in my worst nightmares. They were accompanied by an unbroken stream of that jovial and utterly meaningless commentary which the Irish are so expert at, and which had the effect of drowning out my shrieks, as I suppose was its purpose. Every couple of minutes he would say, "Now hang on here, this might sting a bit," before inflicting on me some particularly savage brutality, adapted, I guessed, from the Gestapo interrogation manual. Clearly he was using some alternative definition of the word sting, some massage industry insider jargon with which I was unfamiliar. Throughout the session, Liam treated my pleas and moans as if they were my witty contribution to some jocular repartee between the two of us. At last it was over. I lay, limp and whimpering, on the table. As he left the cubicle, the giant said, "You might care to lie there a little bit before you get up." Never can there have been a more superfluous instruction. A moose struck by a speeding via rail train stood a better chance of getting up than I did. Eventually, however, I did manage to crawl off the table and dress myself. As I stumbled out, the delightful blonde receptionist reminded me, "Same time next week." And at the prospect, something inside me cringed and shriveled up. On the drive home, I reviewed the whole event. Had the Georgia straight and the guys in the locker room deliberately misrepresented the whole event? Had my doctor realised where he was sending me? I certainly hadn't agreed to giant Irishmen. I'd agreed to Tiffany, warm towels, scented candles, and something altogether more languorous. Clearly, someone had made a dreadful mistake. But after reflection, I decided it would be wiser just to put the whole thing safely behind me. I realised that even if I found a gentler therapist, I'm really past the age when for such sensuality. Also, it occurred to me that by subjecting my fragile body to, say, crystal stimulating hands, I might well incur some entirely new and unrelated injury, and the comical crouching waddle that my grandchildren so enjoy might become permanent. Thank you.
I'm standing on the wooden deck of a boat, putting along off an island in the central Philippines. The sun glares low and oppressive as I stare out at miles and miles of ocean. We're coming back from a scientific research survey looking for whales and dolphins. And I grab the mast of the ship and it hits me. This feeling in my stomach, or rather my colon, and it's bad. And you see that the ship we're on is called a banca. It's a Filipino fishing vessel. We hire 3 seasoned local fishermen to take us out. It's basically a big rig sized canoe with bamboo outriggers on either side, and it definitely does not have a bathroom. So I'm looking on shore. I'm trying to find a landmark to figure out how far we are to the closest bathroom, and I realize we're pretty far. It's easy for a guy to go pee off of a banca. I always felt bad for our female research assistants who would kind of have to hang their butt awkwardly off the side or climb down onto the outriggers and go for a swim. But higher numbered bodily functions were just not something you did on a banca. And I keep squirming, and it feels like it's been hours and hours. And my stomach starts making noises, or rather gurgles that kind of sound like a male frog chorus, like. Now thankfully people can't really hear me on board because the banca has a modified car engine at the back, and it can put along at a couple knots, but what it can't do is turn very fast or stop in any appreciable period of time. And I try to eventually give myself a pep talk. I'm like, okay, you can make it. You can do this. Distract yourself. What song did we sing at the karaoke last night? Was it Bryan Adams or Celine Dion? They really like Canadian crooners in karaoke in the Philippines. No, it was Matchbox 20. I'm not crazy, I'm just a little unwell. Not crap, oh, not crap. This isn't working. I see the ornate house on the bluff. We're too far away. I'm not gonna make it. So I turn to my Filipino colleague and I say, can you relay a message and the sign to the drivers and just tell them to stop? I have to go to the bathroom. And she politely turns around and very, very calmly says something which I assume means, sir, he has to go to the bathroom, can you please slow down? But at this point, it's too late. And I grab the closest flotation device and I hook my arm through and I jump overboard before we can even slow down. And my pants come off and my mind clears as fast as my colon. And my first thought is, does poop float? My second thought is, does poop float away from you? And I file this away for future, I don't know why. And then my third thought is, will poop attract sharks and other cool animals? Because that would be awesome. And I'm in 3,000 meters of water, and I realize that the current is moving really fast. And it's moving really fast away from the direction of home and where the boat is. And off in the distance, I can barely make out the banca. just slowly doing its about face with the turning radius of a large cruise ship. And I start to hatch some plans. So the island of Bohol is about 1 kilometer to my right, and I'm about 5'7" with size 8 feet, and I am not Michael Phelps. So I'm not swimming there. And then I think I was a scout, and I have seen Castaway, so I will be fine. And then I start to panic, and I start to tread water, despite the fact that I'm holding a flotation device. And just when it seems like I might have to try to enact one of my crazy fantasies, I can see people on the boat pointing. And it's coming towards me. And thankfully, they've somehow seen me floating in the waves, bobbing up and down, and they've managed to turn around. And there's only one way to get back up. You flop onto the outrigger, you scramble up the kind of bar, and then you just kind of flop yourself like an embarrassed wet monkey onto the deck. And when I looked at these 3 seasoned fishermen who spend their lives on the ocean, I always felt out of my league completely. And I expected them to look at me and say, "Oh, what a stupid white guy, he almost killed himself," and then just burst out laughing. And instead what I got was a subtle head nod that in any language means, "We've been there."
I'm not good around celebrities. I didn't grow up around them. In fact, I didn't grow up somewhere where celebrities would even want to visit. Film crews only graced my home city twice during my childhood. The first ended up in a number of trespassing fines as thousands of fans descended on the residential neighborhood where the Jolie Pitts were staying. The other involved Arnold Schwarzenegger, Christmas, and my city's iconic mall. Like me, the mall staff knew nothing about film, and in an attempt to be helpful, they left their Christmas decorations up for 6 months so that the film crew wouldn't have to put up their own. They were very naive, thinking their measly mall Christmas decorations could be pictured in a blockbuster Christmas film. It actually caused hours of work, since the crew had to pull them down before putting up theirs, and there were many, many months of trauma-induced flashbacks for mall employees. Fast forward a few years, and I'm done with this backwards mall city, and so I pack up my bags and I move to Hollywood North. It's not for the film, it's because of the mall. So I take a job in a building where there's lots of filming. Within a month of starting my new job, I'd accidentally walked into numerous scenes, ruined countless shots, and accidentally commented on how perky Barry Allen's butt was while the actor was in the room. I spent more time being berated by HR than actually doing my job, and I began to feel like my days of gainful employment were numbered. And then that movie started filming. The movie that would change my life. One of the movie leads was Harrison Ford. Now my mom, like every woman born in the 50s, loves Harrison Ford. And I had been a terrible daughter that year. I think I'd forgot her birthday, maybe Christmas, maybe Mother's Day. I'm not even sure. So I sneaked down to the floor where the filming's occurring so I can snag a picture for her. Still not being very up on my celebrity stuff, I asked my colleague who's in the movie. I do this while we're walking down the hallway filled with the actors and crew. He starts listing off the people, and I actually do know who they are. This is a very exciting moment for me. But then he adds, "Oh, and Michael Houseman." I, forgetting my surroundings, reply, "Who the hell is Michael Houseman?" Comes a voice from behind me. "That would be me." I whip around and I'm face to face with the most beautiful man I have ever seen. Words fail me. I babble, "You're very attractive." And then I try to shake his hand. Luckily, he found my awkwardness endearing, and he whisked me away, and I am now Mrs. Michael Houseman. No, that was my fantasy. My awkward encounter actually landed me in the HR office, again, where I am told I need to learn how to control myself and that I'm on thin ice. Needless to say, I do not get a lot of sleep that night. I'm replaying the scenes in the morning over and over again, worrying about jobs, bills, and if Michael Houseman is gonna sue me. I have to drink a lot of coffee to get through the next day, and I'm a jittery wired mess when I head to the washroom. Now, the washroom in this building has really bad signage. It's really difficult for people to tell if the washroom is a women's washroom or a men's washroom. To make it even more confusing, the washroom is a single bathroom stall in this little tiny room with a sink. Because it's awkward to have two people in there, staff, like me, normally lock the big door to the washroom itself. The unspoken rule is that you do a feet check to make sure there's no one in the stall. But on this fateful day, I don't do that. I need to get the coffee out of me fast. And then I hear someone peeing. And then I hear a toilet flush. And out walks Ryan Reynolds. I'm not sure which of us is more shocked. Him to see me, a female, in what he believed was a men's washroom, or me, that I've just heard Ryan Reynolds pee. Awkwardly, he says to me, "Are you supposed to be in here?" And my awkward instant reply is, "Are you supposed to be in here, Ryan Reynolds?" He laughs slightly, obviously afraid of the strange girl using his full name, and he goes to open the door. Like, he doesn't even wash his hands, he wants to get away from me so badly. But then the lock sticks. He can't get out. So I move to help him with the lock. But I'm a jittery mess. I trip over my feet and I fall directly into Ryan Reynolds, slamming both of us into the door. It's at this point I start laughing hysterically from the coffee. I'm trying to extract myself from his magnificent arms, and I imagine my eyes probably look like a cartoon villain. I finally managed to open the door, and Ryan Reynolds bolts out of there. And that was it. The movie had changed my life. Before I knew it, my work had a policy against locking bathroom doors. And more relevant to me, they had a policy that I didn't work there anymore. And let me tell you, some days it's really hard to go anywhere in Vancouver when you're not allowed within 500 feet of Ryan Reynolds.
A long time ago, I lived in a set of townhomes. We had one row going this way and two other rows, one going down each side. I lived in the very last townhome with my mother. But in the middle lived a couple with 3 kids, 2 twin 7-year-old girls and a 5-year-old boy. Now both parents worked, and so they had a nanny from Monday to Friday. But on the weekends they needed a babysitter for the Saturday night date night, which they did every Saturday without fail. One of their kids had epilepsy, and so they needed a mature babysitter because the child had to take medicine on a regular basis. It was imperative. So of course, it is 1980. They hired me. I'm 12. I love those kids. It was a great gig. I got to stay up really late and watch TV, midnight or past, without adults telling me what to do. And that was after playing a bunch of really fun kid games that, of course, I told my friends were really stupid, but I loved. And I got paid. It was awesome. One Saturday I went over and the parents told me that the kid's uncle was coming, and once he was there, I would be free to go. So Uncle Neil was coming over and they said, look, just take the kids up to the second floor and have them look out the second floor window just to know it's him. Then you can let him in and you can go. No problem, right? The kids were so excited that night. They would not calm down. They were bouncing and bouncing and bouncing, and it was a hot summer's night, so I opened the sliding glass door at the back and I let them bounce off the walls, hoping that eventually they would collapse. Not so. At bedtime, they were so excited, I practically had to hold the one kid down to get medicine into her. Then, upstairs in their room, they were bouncing on the beds like monkeys instead of settling down. Well, after 24 books, 5 glasses of water, 3 trips to the bathroom, and a promise to wake them when Uncle arrived, they finally settled down. I turned out the light and headed downstairs. Ding dong, boom, boom, boom. Oh, Well, at least the uncle's here and they won't be my problem anymore. We have to go see if it's Uncle, they yelled as they leapt out of bed and ran to the front room. Okay, I'm gonna open this window and you're gonna tell me that's Uncle and then you're going straight to bed and I will send him up. I open the window and 3 little heads bob out. That's not Uncle. What do you mean that's not Uncle? He's the only person coming over. And how can that not be Uncle? And how can you tell? You can only see the top of his head. Uncle's blonde like we are. Oh, brown hair, not Uncle. Meanwhile, the guy downstairs, the rigging isn't working, so he's banging. And he's banging and banging aggressively now. All 4 of us are now looking out the window. And then he tries the door handle. I'm worried. Nope, he can't get in. It's locked, no problem. Damn, I left the sliding glass door open at the back of the townhome. I am the adult here, and I will have to go down and I will have to shut it. I sneak downstairs and I shut the sliding glass door and I lock it and I turn. I'm standing in the living room. I'm looking through the dining room into the kitchen where the window is open. Right beside the front door where this madman is banging and yelling and shaking the door handle. I have seen this horror movie. If I go and try to shut that window, I'm the first to die. But if I don't, we're all dead. I am the adult here. So as quickly and as quietly as I can, I scoot across the floor and I shut the window, I lock it, and I beeline upstairs, and all the kids attach themselves to me. I don't know what to do, so we all look out the window again. I wonder if I should call my mother. His banging has alerted the neighbors, and some of the neighbors' kids come out to check out what's going on. Not the adults, the kids come out to see what is going on. They take one look at this madman and flee back into their house with no longer looks of innocence on their faces. Somehow, the slam of their door shakes this madman out of his fixation to get into the house. He's no longer banging on the door. He's no longer yelling. He's no longer trying the door handle. Suddenly, he stops. Suddenly, he gives up. He turns and starts staggering down the courtyard. And all we can see as he's staggering away are his naked butt cheeks going down the middle of the courtyard.